In a post-Me Too world, we've come to understand fame as a weapon wielded by powerful people to manipulate, abuse, and silence others. We've watched as major names like Harvey Weinstein, Kevin Spacey, and Bill Cosby have crumbled under their own hubris.
You make me feel young again.
In our current public understanding, fame is power. But to what extent is that really true? Are fame and power always the same thing? Or is there ever a point where fame becomes a weapon wielded by the public as a means of abusing the famous? I recently came across a tweet by fellow YouTuber Sarah Zed, which made me really want to explore this question. In it, she said, "I want to talk about this public figure thing, just because, I feel like in insular internet communities, people vastly overestimate the amount of systemic power and prestige certain people have." This raised the question to me of what happens when someone has fame, but no power. Yes, fame comes along with endless privileges, but once it reaches a certain level, is it something that we as human beings are capable of withstanding? Maybe there's only an extent to which we can meet the demands of our public selves until we reach a breaking point. Maybe there's a point where fame itself becomes a form of abuse. To unpack this, we have to consider the idea of celebrity. Chris Rojek, the definitive pioneer of contemporary celebrity studies, defines celebrity as the attribution of glamorous or notorious status within the public sphere. He says that celebrity is a split between the public and private self. Of course, we all present a version of ourselves in the public that's different from when we're at home. I'm presenting a version of myself to you right now. But the celebrity self is presented to a much, much larger public than the regular Joe. Our current society almost revolves around celebrity culture, and we've been doing this for most of the 20th and 21st centuries. The public identities of figures like Marilyn Monroe, Elvis, Kurt Cobain, Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, or Amy Winehouse have lived on much longer than the private people who embodied them, and have helped to shape the culture we live in. But there's one figure in particular who really cemented the public-private identity of the celebrity as we know it today. Do I even have to say her name? Princess Diana, whose charisma, vulnerability, and generosity—
Oh, sorry, I was muted, but I definitely screamed Britney.
Had an unprecedented impact on society's conception of what it meant to be famous. In an article published shortly after her untimely death, Jonathan Alter wrote, "If Helen of Troy was the face that launched 1,000 ships, Lady Di launched at least 1,000 covers and hundreds of millions of newspaper and magazine sales. In the 16 years since her marriage, she became not only the most famous woman in the world, but the only personality who consistently sold big in the global marketplace. There was even a time when Diana was the most photographed person in history. Since her death, the power of her image remains stronger than ever. Say the words revenge dress to anyone and they'll probably know what you're talking about." Yet the irony of Diana's role as a public figure is that her extreme fame is both what made her a fixture of history and what caused her demise. Alter goes on to say, "Dodging tabloid photographers, she was doing her bit not just to preserve some privacy, but to hold back forces that she helped unleash. Forces of media intrusion that will now be subjected to an unprecedented backlash. In a twisted way, she died in the line of duty. Not to country, but to the age she came to represent." Diana's
I don't like that.
entire existence, her life and her death, is contradictory. She was the master operator of the camera, knowing the exact outfits, poses, and moments that would give the people what they wanted, but she was also a victim of it. This contradiction of simultaneously feeding off of public interest and being abused by it is a product of a dynamic that scholars call the parasocial relationship. First coined by sociologists Horton and Wall in 1956, the parasocial relationship is an intentional but illusionary dynamic between an audience and a public figure, typically in the realm of mass media. Essentially, it's when we think we know a celebrity intimately despite the fact that they're a stranger to us. Diana was the poster child for this. When she died, the world genuinely grieved for someone they had never met.
How's the pizza?
So
I put it
for
in the
this
oven
video,
for too long, it could have been better.
I want to look at what I see to be three facets of parasocial relationships and how they facilitate abuse: persona, authenticity, and intimacy. And rather than focusing on Diana, I'm gonna look at three different celebrity case studies to explore how wide-ranging parasocial relationships can be. Let's start off with Britney. Persona is a crucial aspect of parasocial relationships. According to Horton and Wall, the public's closeness with a celebrity is contingent upon their appreciation for how well they manage to present themselves as a real person, regardless of how constructed that realness may be. When we get a glimpse of a celebrity's private image, it's typically complementary to their public image. Britney Spears was an excellent example for this. Since the start of her career, Britney had always occupied a pretty contradictory public identity. From the outset, she dangerously teetered the line between baby and woman, Madonna and Magdalene. She perplexed audiences with her hypersexual getup and carefully trained baby voice, the bizarre combination of which was distilled in this 1999 cover for Rolling Stone, which outraged the American Family Association, who decried it as a disturbing mix of childhood innocence and adult sexuality, even going so far as to ask God-loving Americans to boycott Britney's albums. But in the early years, detractors of Britney's hybrid image were easily shooed away. Why, you ask? Well, Britney and her team were very adept at enforcing a version of Britney's private self that helped to soften her hypersexual public self. Her roots from a rural Mississippi town called Kentwood initially cast her as an earnest, hardworking, all-American woman. She was just an ordinary gal whose raw talent allowed her to be plucked from obscurity and thrust into the limelight. Of course, this wasn't true. Britney's parents pushed very hard for their daughter to make a name for herself. She also had a very astute PR team and record label who gleefully capitalized on the public's perverse interest in teenage girls by making it seem like Britney was unaware of her sexual appeal.
Listen, I'm 37. How old are you?
I'm 17.
I'm old enough to be your mother. I don't want to see you in that shirt again, unless you ever
I'm so glad you're bringing this up. I was so humiliated. You do not understand. I'm going to Orlando thinking it's going to be like 90-degree weather, and a storm, of course, goes through when I get there. And then I go out there, and when I came back, there was nothing I could do, and I was so humiliated.
Yeah, it was cold. Things happened.
The way they were able to do this was by leaning into her Southern heritage and waving away criticism by chalking up her hypersexuality to being a product of small-town naivete.
So you have no problem at all reconciling the, Christian values, good moral, upstanding values, with being a little flirtatious, tantalizing, provocative?
You would be boring if you couldn't flirt. I mean, it doesn't say in the Bible that you can't flirt or be sexy.
In a 1999 autobiography, she says, "The crop tops and hip huggers I wore in some of my videos were the kind of clothes we used to wear in Kentwood. It can be scorching during the summer, so the barer the better. And I'm real comfortable dancing in them." Kentwood was branded as a place of humble beginnings, an American every town where people don't have a lot but work hard to make an honest living.
Welcome to my hometown of Kentwood, Louisiana. It's a small town about an hour north of New Orleans.
This is my great-grandmother. Everybody calls her Granny. And you haven't tasted any seafood until you taste hers.
People come from all around for her crawfish.
Hey, young man.
I work the cash register and clean the tables and help the customers.
These are going to be the best shrimp you've ever had.
I really love living in Louisiana. The people here are so nice. They treat you like family and make you feel right at home.
In the same book, Britney's mom, Lynn, says, "Looking back, I don't know how we managed, but somehow we did. Bad as it was, it taught us something. God helps those who help themselves. We came together as a family in our times of need, and just knowing that the 5 of us were in this together, not to mention all of our kin and friends who were always offering us help and hand-me-downs, gave us the strength to see it through." So Britney's original image was a delicate balance between the southern mores of respectable working-class womanhood and the hypersexual pseudo-confidence of Hollywood. But this persona started to break down when she began to reach the level of superstardom. As Jennifer Musial points out, the height of Spears' popularity in Hollywood illustrates how hard it is to reconcile rural, white, working-class Southern values with expectations of celebrity transformation. The Hollywood celebrity script required Spears to turn her background into a brand, or transcend it altogether by adopting bourgeois respectability. Britney's choices to continue shopping at Walmart, or chew gum in interviews.
Although she seems to still be a sweet Southern girl dressed down in casual clothes, chewing gum firmly planted in her mouth.
Or use a public washroom barefoot, or starting to clash with her extreme wealth and delicate Southern belle persona. She was no longer naive about her sexuality, since her Christian good girl image was shattered by Justin Timberlake when he revealed in 2003 that she had actually slept with him.
Did you Britney Spears? Yes or no? Oh man. Come on, man. Okay, I did it.
Breaking her promise of abstinence. When she was married to Kevin Federline, who was cast as a gold-digging good-for-nothing, she failed to meet America's expectations of motherhood, partying, displaying a sexual intimacy with her husband in the public sphere, God forbid, and on one fateful occasion, driving in the front seat with her baby, to which she responded,
I did it with my dad. I'd sit in his lap and I'd drive. We're country.
But this usual appeal to her modest Southern upbringing no longer worked. In the eyes of the public, Britney was now the symbol of white trash womanhood. As Musial states, unlike her early years, Spears was no longer the humble, wholesome new Southern belle. Now she was backward, irresponsible, and unapologetic. And public scrutiny of Britney was brutal.
What has Britney Spears done this past year? What has she lost?
She's lost her sanity. Her underwear.
She's lost her boyfriend.
All right. Respect her dignity, number 5. Number 6. 8, I guess. Number 7. Alrighty, there you have it.
You okay, Brittany? You sick? This way.
Huh? I thought you were pregnant. Are you okay, Brittany?
Because this way, Brittany.
Over here, Brittany. You're right here.
Back off the drive, gentlemen. This won't happen if you just back off.
And you see what happened?
Sorry about that, Brittany. Take one right now.
Person just like you.
Why don't you take one right now? You'll be take a picture of us, Brittany.
It was the greatest impression of an office worker embarrassing themselves at a holiday party I have ever seen. 5 stars, Brittany.
Oh,
Bravo.
Joel
It
McHale,
involved a
you
lot
too,
of
you
mirrors.
fucking asshole.
And when Brittany was rehearsing it, she kept stopping the song and saying, "Who hired the fat girl?"
Thank goodness you said that and not me. Extra claimed that she was seen texting somebody immediately after her performances. Any guesses on the nature of the text, Joel, and the recipient of the text?
Well, I'm not sure, but I think we can rule out dietitian, personal trainer, psychologist, clothing stylist, makeup artist, nanny. I can keep going. Actual musician, songwriter. Stop me at any time.
Constant surveillance, ridicule, and public humiliation culminated in the 2007 moment I'm sure you're all well acquainted with.
This idea to me. Chris, what happened to the hair? It's gone on the floor, huh?
This has now become one of the most iconic moments in pop culture history. For all the wrong reasons, of course, but it was nonetheless a breaking point in how we understand celebrities. In the throes of a public divorce and admittance into rehab, Britney walked into a salon in Sherman Oaks and shaved her head, to the dismay of her public and the delight of the media. This was highly documented by over 70 photographers, and there's been a lot of speculation throughout the years about whether she had consciously made this a symbolic decision. But, intentional or not, it was symbolic. In shaving off her locks, Britney had shed her blonde bombshell identity. This was Britney revealing her true private self for the very first time. But what this private self was exactly, we can never be sure, since the photos documenting this moment don't exactly pin down a single reaction from Britney. She goes from contemplative to defiant to lost to happy from picture to picture. As Moya Luckett puts it, the coherence this photo series resists evokes a fragmented persona, spurring discussion, debate, and even art as the public rush to judge, diagnose, and fill in the many gaps. Later, we were told that Britney was undergoing a mental health crisis, as she was allegedly diagnosed with bipolar disorder, lost custody of her children, and placed under a now infamous conservatorship with her father Jamie. She's since been ostensibly redeemed in the public eye, but it's difficult to tell whether it's because the public itself has become more forgiving, or because any signs of veering off the course of her carefully constructed image have been quashed by the conservatorship. I'm thinking it's a mixture of both. Ultimately, Britney's inability to maintain a private image that was congruent with her public one is the reason her persona became fragmented. Britney's acceleration into fame may have cemented her as an icon, but it came at a brutal cost.
What do you think it'll take to get the paparazzi to leave you alone? Is that one of your biggest wishes?
Oh my god.
Yeah. It's okay. I would like for them to leave me alone.
In her commentary on Britney's public breakdown, Luckett says, her actions suggest a figure whose intimate life has become so public that millions have to witness her experiences and emotions to validate that they exist. In turning herself into representation, Spears reveals that she is like us, a spectator participant in celebrity culture. Now, the goal of constructing a private image for the celebrity is a means of simulating a performance of authenticity. It's a way of saying, hey, we promise we aren't lizards. In an essay on celebrity authenticity, Erin Meyer says, the supposedly true, intimate, and behind-the-scenes details of a celebrity's private life are of the utmost concern for media sources, as they emphasize the notion of a real celebrity who, in her unguarded or supposedly outside the public eye moments, is just like the average person. Thus, while the fan may recognize that the star seen on screen or stage is a highly constructed figure, the star is brought close and revealed as a regular person through the coverage of the details of her private life within the media. Of course, as we saw with Britney, it's all about making sure that your private celebrity image is kept within our social norms, or else you can be deemed a pariah or a train wreck. Which means there's an important distinction to be made between manufactured authenticity and candidness. I think the best case for this is the very different evolution in the celebrity images between Selena Gomez and Miley Cyrus. Both stars were titans on the Disney Channel, with each getting their own respective show, many hit songs, and one Jonas brother. From the looks of it, it seemed like Miley and Selena would have a similar trajectory into adult stardom. But obviously this didn't happen because we were obsessed with taking bets on which Disney stars will make it out okay and which will derail into train wrecks. And we saw this divergence play out in the media once again as Selena and Miley reached their later teens. Miley's role model status quickly plummeted when she appeared underaged and scantily clad on a 2008 cover of Vanity Fair. From here on in, Miley was now a certifiable bad girl and thus the subject of widespread public scrutiny. Pole dancing at the 2009 VMAs, being the subject of leaked, risque photos, and a video of her doing salvia, ending with her official induction into bad girldom with the Can't Be Tamed video. But it was also around this time when Miley began stepping out of the carefully maintained and closed-off image of Disney.
So is this phase of your life and your career over as you move on to the next area?
Well, the show still is going to air coming towards the end of this year. There'll be more Hannah Montana episodes, so that's still, good for my younger audience that they can, have that. And there's a lot of everyone likes the show. It's a family show, so it's good for the families. And then, so that's not completely over for my fans, but I'm kind of moving on to new things.
Selena, on the other hand, was still acting on Wizards of Waverly Place and starring in a number of Disney and children's movies. Her singing career was beginning to take off, but her songs and performances remained pretty PG. Even when the moment came for her to shed her good girl persona in 2013 with Spring Breakers, she was cast in a role that was much more tame than her co-stars. Despite the two having been pitted against each other ever since they vied for the human equivalent of a Kraft single, the two stars crossed paths when Selena appeared on Miley's Instagram Live in 2020. And the contrast
She's
between how these
100%
two
fake.
represent
What's the
themselves is
debate about
clearer than
here?
ever.
Which one? They're just kids who wanted to be like famous. They're just like I think if a parent has a child star, they better be involved. Like, Miley is super manufactured? What? I like that her dad lifted up Lil Nas. I remember watching like the Hollywood Story or whatever the fuck of Selena Gomez. Listen, I fucking love Selena Gomez. Alright, back the fuck off. Nobody talks shit. You hear me? Anyway, her mom wanted to be an actress, but Selena Gomez, at a very young age, was giving her mom tips on how to act, and her mom realized, like, I'm not the actor here. Selena's the actor here. And from that point forward, her mom started to get Selena into, like, auditions and shit. Can we all focus and get back to the real celebrity here, Amy? Britney? The whole industry is manufactured? Yeah, it's a fucked up world, dude. It's a fucked up place. Some people want to be famous. Some people want to be actors. Some people want to be super fucking famous. you know? And maybe they don't realize what it does to your mental health whenever you reach or you attain your goal of what you think is superstardom. And some people want to be fucking actors, and they accept that comes with the celebrity status and paparazzi and people up your asshole at all times. And some people want to be celebrity famous status, like, and what by any means necessary, right? I think some people truly do want to be artists. They want to be actors. They want to be musicians. And if they want to do all of those things, they understand that with the territory of being a super fucking famous actor, musician, whatever the fuck, comes stardom and fame. And that's what you have to try to get used to. Now, in this world, you can also just become famous if you know how to fucking become famous, right? If you want, you can find a way. If you want to, if you're into that kind of thing. Everybody wants a piece of you? What? Bitch, nobody wants a piece of me. Everyone's like wishing I'd fuck off and die, I think, at this point. Or you mean like the problem with like stardom? Like, as a celebrity. Yeah, like, sorry about that. Like, I'm not a celebrity. I don't want to be. Like, I don't think that it is something that would bode well. This is not me trying to be a celebrity. Or you know the right people. Yeah, I guess that's true. But I do think that whenever you're a celebrity, you don't really realize how bad it is, and you maybe bite off more than you can chew. And you know, the issue is, how do you cope, or how do you manage? Because I don't think that you can ever gauge how much somebody is going to fucking love you as a fan, right? Before that happens, I guess I wouldn't mind a piece. Where do you get the idea that people dislike you? I don't know. I just assume that I don't. In my mind, I cannot imagine having like that kind of like it factor where people would be, I mean, y'all like hang out because you care about politics, and that's really cool. Like, that's really fucking cool, and I like that a lot. I like that a fuck ton of, you know, that you have an interest in learning more about housing and politics, but it ain't for everyone. You know what I mean? The thing is that being a public figure is a choice. Celebrities aren't real. Celebrities aren't real people. Well, I don't know about that. I think that celebrities are real people. In fact, most of their names changed. There's no actual person named Natalie Portman or Winona Ryder. That's because they have stage names. Like, some people's names are kind of weird. Like, my whole name is fucking... My name sucks. If I wanted to be an actress, I'd 100% change my name. Just because it's a weird name. It just sounds weird. Like, it's like honky as fuck. Like, I don't know if that's necessarily, like, indicative of, like, you know, stripping away, like, your true sense of self because, like, you do adopt a stage name. I just think that's... Amy C3 would be a dope name for an actress. Amy McGillicuddy? I wish that was my fucking last name. I wish McGillicuddy was my last name. That would be my stage name, though. Well, this video explains why celebrities are people. Yeah. I've used a stage name. It's just for privacy. I think stage names are more of a safety thing. There you go.
Miley speaks in her usual rapid manner. She wears a kitschy Gucci sweater and is surrounded by loud scenery. Selena, on the other hand, is wearing a simple blue sweater with her hair tied back and sits in a clean white room. Unlike Miley, she speaks slowly and meditates on her responses.
You know, what's something that you can use to filter helpful thoughts versus hurtful thoughts? Because I know this is a time where the ants just totally want to attack our brain. And yeah. I think when things like this are happening, we love to be future telling. We love to be psychics where we know what's going to happen. And we really don't know anything. And it can just give us anxiety. What do you use to keep yourself helpful?
Communicating with like women I respect. You know, like I have a few older women that I look up to that aren't in the industry. I call them, and I think talking through what it is you're feeling is extremely helpful.
When they talk about their respective struggles with mental health, Miley goes directly through childhood anecdotes, whereas Selena keeps her discussion more general. This contrast underscores the very filtered nature of Selena's image, even when she's opening up, as opposed to the almost stream of conscious way that Miley presents. This can also be seen in their individual interviews throughout the years. Upon going through various videos and articles featuring Selena and Miley, my researchers and I found that Miley tended to be much more flexible with her vocabulary and tone. She's also very defiant towards criticism.
You have been half naked almost this whole year, it seems to me.
It's getting cold now, so I gotta.
You're wearing a little silk shirt.
For example, in a 2010 interview with Parade, she says, "I am not a doll, and people want to treat me that way. They say, now this is what we need to do with your makeup, and this is what I want you to wear." And I'm like, dude, I choose. When I was 12, that was okay, but I'm older now. I have an opinion. I have my own taste. Her tone is often casual, and she rarely holds back with swearing. Whereas Selena, even to this day, is much more measured in her interviews. When she spoke with Gia Tolentino for Vogue earlier this year, she said, "I think I spent so many years just trying to say the right thing to people for the sake of keeping myself sane. I'm such a people pleaser." Selena has often been referred to as a role model for her fans, but Miley has long occupied the opposite position. Whenever she's interrogated about falling into the footsteps of Britney and Lindsay Lohan, she and her family have maintained that Miley and other celebrities of her ilk are simply doing what non-famous girls their age are doing.
You know, you have to realize this is a 20-year-old girl.
21.
Oh, yeah.
Don't be forgetting that I just had a birthday.
Okay, 21, but these things are happening at 20. This is what 20-year-olds do. You know, she's just doing it in front of the world.
In response to the controversy surrounding the alleged pole dance, she says, "My job first is to entertain and do what I love. If you don't like it, then change the channel."
Is that her
I'm not
mother?
forcing you to
Yeah.
watch me.
Can you
I'm not
tell? They
forcing
look
you to talk
exactly
about it.
like.
I would do that pole dance 1,000 times again because it was right for the song and that performance. But dude, if you think dancing on top of an ice cream cart with a pole is bad, then go check out what 90% of high schoolers are really up to. Sound familiar?
I mean, I can't help that. And if the parents don't like them to see it, then change the channel. So, sorry,
So maybe the difference is in Miley and Selena's personal philosophy on fame. One believes that celebrities are a reflection of real life and don't have an onus to instruct their audience on what a role model should be. And the other is a people pleaser who believes celebrities should present an ideal for their audience. But I mean, this isn't exactly true. Selena Gomez has always discussed the fact that she's not perfect, and that she wants to set a good example but doesn't want to necessarily be perceived as a role model. When she spoke to Vogue in 2017, she said, "People so badly wanted me to be authentic, and when that happened, finally, it was a huge release. I'm not different from what I put out there. I've been very vulnerable with my fans, and sometimes I say things I shouldn't. But I have to be honest with them. I feel that's a huge part of why I'm where I am." So I think what it really boils down to is the difference in how they frame their private selves in public. When Selena presents her private image, it's through highly mediated encounters, through a structured sit-down with Vogue, through the occasional inspirational Instagram caption. Just take a look at her account compared to Miley's notorious shitposting. Selena's openness with the public is very restrained. When interviewing Selena about her past health struggles, Amy Schumer asks, "I think people worry about you. I've worried about you. Should we be worried about you?" And in response, Selena offers up some platitudes. Some people just get off on building people up and then trying to bring them down. I guess what I mean is that people worry about me because I've had some trouble in the past. And it's kind, it is, but I'm okay. Her references to personal struggles are always very vague. But see, Selena represents the standard for celebrities because she delivers a sort of manufactured authenticity. As Meyer says, it's the tension between the two sides of the persona, larger than life, and the real person, coupled with the tension between the possibility and impossibility of knowing the truth about her life, which makes celebrities so intriguing to the public and such apt ideological symbols. And this is where she really differs from Miley. Where Selena represents manufactured authenticity, Miley represents candidness. But although Miley's candidness is like...
So Selena Gomez had kidney failure because of lupus, and one of her friends gave her a kidney that saved Selena Gomez's life. Again, I'm a huge Selena Gomez fan, alright? Back the fuck up, alright? I don't care what you have to say. I know me some Selena, alright? And they were awful to her. They were awful to her because they were worried about what it would look like with the scar and how it could maybe be visible if she wore scantily clad clothing in, her next tour or whatever. No worries. But no, I mean, yeah, it's true that They were testing you. Sorry. Oh God, sorry. But yeah, no, you're not expected to know that. My bad.
To her fair share of Britney-esque vitriol in the media, we can't discount that Selena has been a victim of fame herself. Her closed-off approach may have saved her from public scrutiny, but it's also allowed for her massive fan base to fill in the gaps and create their own idealized version of her. Ever since her breakup with Justin Bieber and her struggles with lupus, Selena's rare moments of opening up to the press have led people to read her as a fragile person. Just look at the way Gia Tolentino describes her. The room is warm and the afternoon is becoming opaque, and the superstar in front of me is giving off a soft, bruised quality. I find myself, as many fans and casual observers of Gomez have found themselves, wanting to protect her, to make her happy, to cheer her up. Selena appears to have lived a very restricted life. She even told Vogue this year that she doesn't have access to her social media anymore. Her assistant does. Miley's authenticity, or candidness with the public, has gotten her into trouble, but Selena's commitment to performing this authenticity means that she might not be living with any degree of autonomy that a person should be. In response to Selena's desire to break free from Disney, Tolentino says, "It's partly a matter of her face, which remains stubbornly youthful. Even when she's going full bombshell, you can still imagine her cheeks surrounded by flowers and cartoon hearts. It's clear that Selena's personal brand of authenticity has placed her in a perpetual state of adolescence. People describe her in a way that makes her sound like a porcelain doll rather than an autonomous, near 30-year-old. She even said to Vogue, "Look, I love what I do and I'm aware of how lucky I am, but how can I say this without sounding weird? I just really can't wait for people to forget about me." Both Selena and Miley were placed in the Britney, Lindsay, Amanda pipeline, and both have used their separate tactics of authenticity and candidness to avoid going down that route. Miley has tried to take control of the abuse by staying one step ahead of the public and capitalizing on her lack of restraint by making it a brand. Conversely, Selena has submitted herself to the public by manufacturing a passive private image, which has in turn restricted her from breaking free of her adolescent public self. However you read this, authenticity versus candidness, there always seems to be a sort of double-edged sword for celebrities of this caliber, particularly for women.
I've talked to people who knew her as a
Candidness can
child.
subject
Oh
celebrities to
God.
public scrutiny and outcasting, but it also allows them to navigate life unrestrained, if they're prepared for it. And manufactured authenticity helps to preserve a public image, but that doesn't necessarily equate to an unrestrained private life. So is there really any healthy way to navigate fame and the public-private balance at this level? I don't know. Intimacy is potentially the most defining aspect of parasocial relationships. This dynamic completely hinges upon the idea that members of the public forge a connection with celebrities that's much closer from their perspective than the stars. Like when I was personally offended when Aaron Johnson got together with Sam Taylor Wood back in 2009, a decision I thought was not only bad for him, but for our future marriage and the kids we would have together. Like I said earlier, members of the public had forged such a strong personal attachment to Princess Diana that when she died, the world underwent a collective grieving period. As Richard Johnson put it in his own reconciliation with Diana's death, misrecognized by critics as manufactured or sentimental, this mourning was a typical expression of public grief and personal loss, magnified as much by the intimacy and extent of Diana's social connections, face-to-face and mediated. The illusion of intimacy is formed because, according to Chris Rojek, celebrities offer peculiarly powerful affirmations of belonging, recognition, and meaning. So if Princess Diana was able to connect on such a profound level with her audience, imagine how strong this type of connection has become through social media. Social media has essentially taken the illusion of intimacy and embedded it into our everyday lives. Platforms like Twitter and Instagram allow for celebrities to interact with fans directly. They can receive feedback in the comment sections
Poor
and
girl's
create
just
stories
crying.
on a daily basis where they speak to their followers as if they're sitting in a room with them. According to Turner, through this expanded domain of interactivity, there are now substantial elements of this parasocial relationship which no longer look like the simulation of a conventionally social relationship at all. If anything, social media has made intimacy a bit of a problem. So for this section, I want to look at Best Dressed, because I think she embodies the traits of a person like Princess Diana on a micro scale. She appears to be kind-hearted, yet vulnerable and unafraid to show her flaws. And the way she's been treated by her fans is a perfect case for how intimacy on social media can work against the celebrity's favor.
Hello there, and welcome back to a channel called Best Dressed, in which I'm neither really the best dressed, nor do I upload fashion videos particularly often.
If you're unfamiliar, Ashley, known as Best Dressed, is a YouTuber and former film student who became known for making fashion and lifestyle videos. She joined the platform in 2015 and steadily rose to fame, to this date amassing almost 4 million subscribers. Now, there are tons of fashion people and vloggers on YouTube, but Ashley managed to stand out thanks to her impeccable editing abilities and striking sincerity in front of the camera. She discussed everything from mental health.
And then I have other days where I just completely fall off the rails. I get down a YouTube hole, I start watching a bunch of movies, I just crawl into bed and burn time. And those can be correlated with depressive episodes for me.
To her sex life.
And I felt ready to have sex for the first time with my first boyfriend. I had this it was an uncontrollable feeling of shame and guilt.
To her inability to live a fully sustainable lifestyle.
I wish that I could dive headfirst into sustainable fashion, stop buying fast fashion altogether, and just have a wardrobe of completely reformation and vintage and thrifted items. I'm wet just thinking about it. But unfortunately, as a college student paying rent in LA, that's just not happening right now.
She had previously been attending school and living in LA, but around January 2020, she moved to New York, where she was able to get her own apartment. But very soon after moving, the world quickly went into lockdown, and Ashley found herself confined to her home, all alone in a new city. This is why in September, she posted a video called How 2020 Has Me Feeling, where she presents a sort of film diary talking about her experience in isolation and fluctuating mental health, which is delivered over clips from the past few months of her life. And this was met with a very bizarre response. Comments ranged everywhere from, "Why didn't you wear a mask when you blew out the candles on your birthday cake?" to, "Why are you romanticizing the pandemic?" to, "You should get therapy." Very quickly after, a barrage of videos began to pop up evaluating where Ashley sits on the problematic spectrum and basically picking apart every apparent indiscretion she's ever made in her life.
Yeah.
Things like, Ashley isn't as sustainable as she says she is. Ashley comes from a wealthier family than she lets on. That she romanticizes mental illness and makes too many sex jokes. The horror. Now, online celebrities are frequently the subject of criticism, but something about the critiques waged against Ashley feel unbearably intimate.
She's not. I don't think Ashley is trying to be a role model. All right, here's the thing. Whenever you reach status where you have 4 million followers, then people are going to pick you apart because they are going to try to get famous by ripping you a new fucking asshole. That's how it works. That's how it works in this fucking realm. If you reach notoriety to the point where you could make other people famous, if they find some sort of flaw and if they expose that flaw and they try to tear you down, then that is absolutely something that does happen. Imagine using a YouTuber as a role model? Exactly. I don't think that this person is trying to be a role model. They're trying to be an influencer. They're trying to be a personality, online personality. Right? I don't know. I think there's a big difference. It's very common among kids these days. It's an asshole eat asshole world. Well, let's not do that. They're trying to get a job. They're trying to have a job under capitalism. Well, imagine. No, wait. Imagine that being your avenue of trying to reach a point where you achieve online celebrity status by attempting to break down another celebrity who has a higher social standing than you. That to me is so fucking disgusting. I'm sorry. I'm going to say that. To try to, unless somebody is fucking with you, then you fuck them right back, I suppose, or don't let them break you down or tear you down. Stand your ground and don't let somebody roll over you like a little fucking bitch. That's the only time where I think it's really necessary. If somebody who is in a more prominent position than you decides to fuck with you, then I think that they have reached a point where they've entered your territory, and maybe it's in your best interest to not allow them to fuck with you. Other than that, if you go out of your way to try to fuck with somebody because you are taking a cheap shot at their fame in an attempt to build off of the fame that you will get, by ripping them a new fucking asshole? I'm sorry. I think that's cheap. I think it's fucking tacky. Isn't that what this video we are watching is doing? Not really. I think it's more of an analysis. I don't think that they're trying to like I don't get ill intent here. Like at all.
Beyond the illusion of intimacy you get with regular celebrities. At some point, this healthy interest crosses over into a sense of ownership as the audience takes up a more paternalistic and controlling position over the celebrity. In his book, 21st Century Celebrity, Fame and Digital Culture, David C. Giles finds that online celebrities, or micro-celebrities, are cultivating fundamentally different relationships with their followers than the traditional celebrity. This is especially evident with vloggers, who confirm their authenticity through the performance of intimacy, like engaging in a conversational dialogue with the camera.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all well. Good morning. Today's the day.
Good morning, everybody. Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome back to my channel.
Giles says that the parasocial relationship between YouTubers and fans is reinforced further by moments of vulnerability on the part of the celebrity, particularly in the form of confession. Ashley's confessionals differ from the traditional Selena Gomez confessional because they're coming straight from her, sitting in her own home and framing her own narrative. There are no peering eyes, or Diane Sawyers, or cameramen watching her as she tells us the details of her life. These are coming to us from a far less mediated environment. Like Giles says, it's during these moments that viewers feel they have access to the inner reality of the celebrity, and we see the gap between vlogger and viewers narrowing. When researching this video, I joined a subreddit dedicated to Best Dressed to better understand the culture of her fandom. And wow. The majority of the posts are either people nitpicking the details of her personal life or just straight up talking shit about her. Let's take a look, shall we?
Oh god.
Ashley's sister. I haven't been on this subreddit for very long, so I don't know if anyone else has talked about this. But does anyone else think it was a bit unnecessary when Ashley told her millions of viewers about the extent of her sister's eating disorder? I know it must have been incredibly hard for Ashley growing up, but it really wasn't her place to tell the whole internet about her sister's personal struggles, especially since at the time, Ashley's family didn't know about her YouTube channel, and I'm sure her sister didn't give Ashley permission to disclose this to her audience. But
okay.
Is it your
Well,
place to comment on the
goddamn it.
matter in a Reddit forum? Ashley isn't broke. I just want to say that I used to be a big supporter of Ashley and still respect the hard work that got her to where she is today. However, I think it's a bit ingenuous how she built her brand on being relatable, broke, and thrifty when she's actually been making a lot of money from YouTube for some time now. It also upsets me how she responds to questions about being rich by saying that she has immigrant parents, from Britain, and that she worked 2 to 3 jobs in high school just to show her viewers how middle class she was. In reality, I think it's public knowledge that her family's income is in the top 1%. If she had just acknowledged that she grew up well off but still worked hard to make her own money, I could really respect and admire that. I think that many people see this argument as denouncing Ashley for having money, when it's just wishing for her to be honest with us. As a first-generation immigrant myself, I feel a bit deceived. Is it public knowledge that her parents are 1%ers, and if so, why is it public knowledge? As a film student, I love Ashley's videos. She's just so cringy that it makes her hard to watch. I almost have a nostalgic sort of relationship with Ashley's videos. Her videos are clearly made with tons of love, patience, and effort. However, every other word that comes out of her mouth makes me literally physically cringe. The sex jokes she makes are blatantly unfunny, are over-the-top cringy, and half the time incredibly gross and not relatable. See her Lincoln Department tour. She clearly does it as an attempt to destigmatize
Man, these are
sex,
harsher than
which
Amazon product
unfortunately
reviews.
falls flat as
Yeah,
her
it's
joke.
so weird. It is so weird that because people feel inclined to say what they want to say, and you know what? Maybe it's fair play. If you're an online influencer, if you're on Instagram, then maybe that is somebody else feeling within their right to share their own opinion about the content that somebody else creates. I just can't imagine that being the topic of conversation that you want to have. There is so much that you can do with your day. They remind me of YouTube hate comments Amy gets. Absolutely not. This is literally showing how dedicated you are to breaking down and analyzing somebody else's content, to pick it apart, to find inherent flaws with it, and then spinning a significant portion. I mean, I don't know. It takes me a little while longer to fucking cook up something like this in my kitchen, but I just can't imagine spending any time putting together what seemingly is a rebuttal against somebody's entire existence on the internet. I just can't imagine wanting to spend your time trying to make somebody else feel bad in an attempt to like maybe one day have them read it. It just kind of seems like, why? What is the point? What is your intention here? And what is the point whenever you spend a significant portion of your day trying to pick apart a YouTube content creator? Like, what are you trying to do here? Are you trying to change people's minds? Are you trying to change public opinion about a YouTube content creator with millions of viewers? Like, is that really how you feel that you can make an impact in the world? To try to change people's fucking minds about a person who has millions of people who fucking seemingly love her? That's the whole thing. It just kind of seems so strange to me. Amye isn't broke. Revelations. I'm pretty fucking broke. I'm not like broke, like, I don't know if I'll be able to eat tomorrow, but I guess compared to like how much money you can make on Twitch, and even compared to other, you know, more prominent political streamers on Twitch, like subs wise, I'm not doing great. I guess they want to feel better about themselves. They think they are making a difference somehow in the fandom. I think you're overanalyzing this guy. Oh, am I? You think I'm over? This person wrote a whole ass paragraph. This is a fucking whole page. This is a one pager. This is a one page response to somebody's entire content.
Usually falls into the TMI category. Not too sure how we can destigmatize.
I mean, nobody
sex
had to
if
read
people
it.
still
True.
think
And
free.
yeah, no, I've had this. You'll get there. I'm not even saying that. And yeah, no, people have wrote completely. I mean, whole ass fucking, whole ass subreddit takedowns of me. We've read them. And some people do truly feel, and this whole thing that's a little different because this person truly felt that I had wronged them. Like I had picked them out and that I had wronged them personally. And they felt so grievanced and so bothered that they felt it was their duty almost, and I said duty, to try to preemptively cancel me because they thought that it would be dangerous to allow me to continue on, even though literally somebody pointed out that I'm a nobody. And it was kind of weird how hard they were trying to get me preemptively canceled, seeing as though I'm literally a fucking nobody, if you recall correctly. Duty or duty? Well, which one do you think? I'll leave it up for you to decide which duty I really mean. Which was, you know, a little strange, but still. You know, people feel a certain type of way and they use an outlet like subreddit or something or YouTube comments to air out their grievances that they feel that is rightfully theirs, and they have some shit to say and they need to say it, and that is their right. Can you even cancel a nobody? No, somebody tried and somebody was like, why are you trying to cancel a nobody? Yeah.
Conversations about it are quote-unquote gross. Ashley's fashion evolution. Has anyone else noticed how much her style has changed? I know she's getting older and can't stick to one thing constantly, but she was someone who I genuinely went to for fashion advice, and she had some really good tips about how to match things and make them work. Judging by her Instagram posts now, it's almost like she just throws thrifted things together and calls it an outfit, and a lot of the time they don't really work together. For someone who was so conscious of colors and materials and silhouettes, it's a bit disappointing for me, especially considering how much I really appreciated the advice she gave. This person tried to defend her but got 0 upvotes and was promptly retaliated against. It's strange because these people seem to just purely dislike Ashley, yet are congregating in a forum as fans. Obviously, these types of posts will appear in any subreddit, but the sheer volume of nitpicking and overanalyzing makes it look like this is the consensus within her fanbase. And I'm clearly not the only one who's weirded out by the atmosphere.
Dude, she has like 4 million followers. Even if there's like 100,000 people subreddit, I mean, the ratio of followers to hate watchers, you know, it still has a lot more followers and people who genuinely like her favoring those outcomes, right? Of course you're gonna have haters and hate watchers. That comes with the territory, right? It's just weird how people are... It's more like a quality versus quantity thing where people literally will spend all day, all fucking day, trying to find a way to break somebody down. And to me, it's just, I can't, but of course, that is literally, my life has resulted in me trying to, like literally with my finger up my asshole, try to figure out why somebody is so fucking obsessed with me, a nobody, who has really bad fucking eating habits and barely brushes her fucking hair and can barely get out of bed because I'm so fucking, like, I'm in such a fucking weird fucking pit of despair. Because, obviously, I feel like I can't go anywhere without this person stalking me. The fucking depression. It's depression that's laden with self-fucking-pity and loathing because I can't seem to get out in front of this fucking stalker that makes me almost like an unbearably undesirable fucking person that this motherfucker captures. And it's like, see, I told you so. Like, she's gross. She's a gross motherfucker. Again, I'm throwing spaghetti at a fucking wall here. Subtle, humble hair brag. The internet kind of creates monsters. I would say more so than, like, kind of creating monsters is, like, the fucking, like, person who literally creates somebody who is inevitably turned into a monster. Like, if you want to know who was the real fucking monster here? Let's see. Dr. motherfucking Frankenstein was the real fucking monster, you know, in this equation. And it's kind of like, how far can you push somebody to their breaking points? And is it fair or justifiable to push somebody to unbearable limits just to see how fucking mean and ugly they can be? And then judging them based off of how mean and ugly they can be when they are thrown into the fucking pits, a situation that they did not ask to be in, that they were literally coerced in without even knowing about it, and then forced to just cope. Just cope, forehead. Just get used to it, forehead. Somebody loves you so much, forehead, that they put your entire life on the internet, forehead, and they're just trying to wait for you to get to a place where you're good, forehead, not realizing that I fucking hate this motherfucker. I never want to see his ugly face again. If I have to, I might punch it. Actually, I'm pretty sure I would. That ain't love, no, yo? Yeah, no, it's not. It's a lot of things. Love is not it. I'm giving bits to the hype train, and I also hate this motherfucker. Thank you, Dank Techno, for the fucking bits. I have hate watched a fuck ton of TV shows as well. You've hate watched a fuck ton of TV shows? Why? Why would you hate watch anything? Alright, yeah, it's Hail Mary territory, fucking hype train. Wait, why would you hate watch a TV show? Why would you hate watch anything? Secondhand hatred? You sometimes hate watch conservatives, right? Yeah, but barely, but not like a TV show. TV shows like where you kind of vibe. I hate watch movies all the time. I don't know. I hate watch conservatives so that I can motherfuck them and talk about how awful I think they are. They am. You don't have to hate to kick him off. You don't have to hate to kick him off in the In the balls? You make fun of it for fun, that's the point? Hey, watching conservatives to break down their lies is different than watching them to be entertained by getting upset at them. Yeah, so like, whenever I hate watch conservatives, it's usually to pinpoint just how fucking inherently flawed and dangerous and harmful they are. I don't like the idea of even like making, you know how I feel, it's like the Tim Pool thing. I never want to make fun of Tim Pool's appearance. I only want to make fun of how dangerous he is. And how he writes that line where he tries to posture himself like he is a level-headed person who is trying to shit on the extremist mentalities that left-wing ideology has, i.e. Antifa. And how this has been incredibly disastrous to left-wing momentum that we have garnered that is actively fighting back against real-life fascism, mind you, and how this is incredibly dangerous. And Tim Pool has mastered this art of shitting on left-wing momentum while being a fascist right-wing apologist. But never, ever do I allow you to talk shit about Tim Pool or make fun of him or get off on, like, you know, making jokes. Like, that's not the kind of fucking person I am. That's not how I think that's whack. I think that if you make fun of somebody or you try to point out their flaws because, like, you hate them and you want to break them down, or you just, like, get off on the idea of making fun of them and laughing at them, like, you're a fucking whack-ass person. Like, fuck you. You're fucking whack as shit. Like, the fuck is wrong with you? If that's, like, what gets you off, sick fuck. Nah, I'm not like that. Thank you, Anonymous, for the 5 tier 1 gift subbies. Thank you. Yeah, a lot of people are like that. Well, then a lot of people are really fucked up. Amy, why are you saying whack so much? I don't know. I say it a lot in my mind. Like, yo, that's fucking whack, dude. Hate watched the last 3 seasons of Game of Thrones. What a waste. Okay, well, hate watching it because, like, you were hoping that it was going to be good and it ended up not being good. Who was that YouTuber? Did Amy thank you for the gift subs? Raificatio, thank you for the gift subbies. Thank you, Larry Potato, for letting me know. I miss them. I enjoyed the video about parasocial relationships, interesting content and discussions. Well, let's talk about, like, okay, so I didn't interject too much, but, like, parasocial relationships doesn't always mean fandom, people loving you, people becoming obsessed with you. Parasocial relationships also give people room to feel inclined to critique and criticize and analyze and break down a content creator. And I think that is more so what this video was intending to navigate through that process, right? Of how people do feel so inclined. And this is absolutely an element of a parasocial relationship to feel as though y'all are so fucking close that you can break down a celebrity because you feel like they might need a stern talking to because they do something that in your mind is out of bounds. It kind of breaks the barriers of what they have maybe promoted themselves to be, or how they have made you perceive them as, and if they deviate from this perceived behavior or persona, then people take issue with that. And that leads them to feel a certain type of way, right? About a person. We need to do better at educating people to respect boundaries, especially with influencers online. I think judging content is fine, but I agree on all other points. Like, that's an incredible amount of pressure that you are putting onto somebody, where you expect them to, you know, like they're a fucking dog doing tricks, right? And people do start to feel so inclined that, you know, you're friends with somebody online if you follow them on Twitter, or if you know, follow them on any social media platform. And yeah, I think it can be really harmful to the person, especially if you are intending to get their attention in that kind of way. Absolutely. But also, how do we call out influencers who behave badly? What do you mean by behave badly? What like, trolls are gonna trill? I feel betrayed. Stop. What do you mean by bad behavior? What do you mean by bad? What is bad behavior in your mind? I think that's not our job to judge a person. I think that's... Wait, you just said I think judging content is fine, but I agree on all other points. But then you said I think that's not our job to judge a person. Imagine getting really mad about content creators online. It sounds really tiring. Okay, so, all right, so I'll go ahead and I'll bite bad behavior on online. Do I think that somebody like Ashley here, the fashion influencer, do I think that she is behaving badly? No. No. Do I think that... Keemstar? Do I think Keemstar behaves badly? Yes. Yes, I do. What is the point of Keemstar's entire shtick? In terms of added value or utility? Awkward sex jokes? To be a bully. Exactly. That's the entirety of Keemstar in his content. I don't know. I think that might be indicative of bad behavior. Awkward sex jokes? Just seems like a really open and honest person with their sexuality. Again, what harm does this person bring talking about their own sex life? Assuming that they are not being specific enough to pinpoint a certain encounter with a partner or a lover that would be able to be identifiable. If you're not calling somebody out specifically and it's ambiguous enough, is this harmful? It stings. They did that though? Who did it? The Ashley? If a person brings toxicity to their audience, it's worth pointing out that it has a negative impact on that audience, but that's not what was happening in that video. Do I think that Steven Crowder exudes bad behavior? Yeah, and he is harmful. Whenever he uses the plight of human suffering, right? To, I don't know, perpetuate his own jokes because he is trying to drum up an audience of white supremacists and he uses bigotry as his punchline. I would say, yeah, there's an issue with people who do use their platform and continuously use or almost religiously use their bad behavior as a medium for comedy. This is problematic. The social platforms also play a part in what is promoted and what is demoted. I don't know, awkward sex jokes. I guess that's subjective. Personally, I would never, ever, ever, ever try to make somebody sexually uncomfortable, and I say that like as earnestly as possible. I would never try to make somebody uncomfortable with a sex joke. That is, in my mind, it is awkward, and that's just not the way that you know, at this point, chat, I have been pretty reserved in speaking about my own sexual past. Just trying to keep it at the bare minimum, in part because A, I don't think it's anyone's business, and B, I just don't like to go into that territory, and that is my prerogative. I have no obligation to you whatsoever to speak in great detail about my sex life, and I try not to make sex jokes because, again, it's just something that does not feel right to do. And maybe it has a lot to do with the fact of how I started to figure out that I was on the internet. Probably. Yes, absolutely, in fact. But still. A sex joke isn't something you use in company you aren't familiar with. That is your opinion, right? Excuse me. So you think a sex joke isn't something you use in but I gotta tell you, people make sex jokes in my chat all the time. We joke about Deschanel. Usually it's fine. The issue with the sex jokes was that Ashley would joke about flashing people in public and her outfits and stuff. Not a good look. Or not a good thing, but not something she deserves that much hate over. Like, flashing people in public. What do you mean? I still don't see how that's worth the scrutiny of the internet. Yeah, I don't know. I have a very specific opinion about this. Right? But it's important to try to reach his audience and open their eyes to how toxic that behavior is? What? The fuck? It's important to reach his audience and open their eyes to how toxic that behavior is. I'm sorry, I've lost the plot on what y'all are talking about, but... I mean, in the sense that I would not make one with one or at the expense of someone I didn't know was comfortable with that humor. Crowder. It's not something that you would have put online, in my opinion, but the way that they responded to her posting their own analyses and stuff, it's because they felt entitled to her life, which is also bad. Well, that's the whole thing too, with like the subjectivity of who does not and who does deserve to be bullied. Because obviously, devout Crowder fans are not under the impression that Crowder is doing anything wrong and therefore he should not be bullied, right? So people obviously are going to have a different approach. Some people think that I should be bullied into a fucking oblivion. Can I blame them in some respects? No. Do I accept it? Yeah. But Crowder is speaking to a very specific audience, and he is saying, motherfuck the rest, I don't care who I hurt in the process, I'm actually trying to use them as my punching bag, and how dare you stand in the way of me using the plight of minorities and marginalized groups as my main focal point with my comedy bit. And his audience is obviously holding him up and applauding him, not seeing anything wrong about it. But if anybody came for him or tried to cancel him, then all of a sudden we flip the script, we see, and Crowder starts to be the victim of hate and cancel culture. You see how that works? Anybody who is subject to criticism, who thinks that they have done nothing wrong are obviously going to double down on their defense of why they have done what they have done. That's literally in our nature to protect ourselves, right? But the issue is that Steven Crowder does not care who he hurts in the process. Some people don't care who they hurt in the process. Some people do not think that they've done wrong in their past. Some people do. Some people beg for forgiveness. Some people beg to not have ramifications applied that will end their career. It just depends on what you want out of this experience. Do you want vengeance? Do you want notoriety? Do you want money? What do you want? It all depends on your end game, right? Steven Crowder wants to make as much money as possible doing what he loves to do, and that apparently is shitting on people in much less fortunate positions as he is, to build himself up, and to make them the joke, the butt of his joke. And he thinks he does a little bit of political analysis in the process, where he goes and he talks to fucking 19-year-olds on college campuses. God. It's pathetic. It's pathetic existence.